mean, as you look around and wonder about how wokeness is damaging and even destroying America, his book goes right to the heart of it. Unwoke, How to Defeat Cultural Marxism in America. It's a real honor to welcome back to the Mike Gallagher Show, Republican Senator from Texas, Senator Ted Cruz. All right, we got book talking to get to. I got a couple of co-hosts in here with me from a great organization that I'm sure you're familiar with, Senator Cruz, Job Creators Network, and the great Alfredo Ortiz and Gary Rabine are in here in the studio with me in Miami, sort of helping to co-host and talking about our debate, and we'll have you chat with them for just a moment. First of all, Senator, congratulations on the book. What a time to be alive. I mean, I never thought we'd be able to see good versus evil in such a transparent way. The clarity of the battle that you've been talking about publicly for many years, good versus evil, has never been more profound.
Well, Mike, you're exactly right. It's good to be with you. Thank you for having me back on the show. Listen, you're right. The world has gone insane. And I wrote this book, Unwoke, How to Defeat Cultural Marxism in America. I wrote the book because, like millions of Americans, I'm looking at what's going on, going, what in the hell is happening? How did the world go so crazy? And what this book does is it examines how the radical left seized control of every major institution in America. And so each chapter, chapter 1 starts with university. And I call the universities the Wuhan lab of the woke virus. It's where it was created, it's where it mutated, it's where it spread. And from the universities, then I go to K through 12 education, and from there to journalism, and from there to government, and from there to big business, and then big tech, and then entertainment, movies, TV, sports, music, and then science. And then the last chapter is on China and how China is a central nexus that links them all together. And what this book does is two things. Number one, it explains how and why the cultural Marxists seized control from within of each of those institutions. And then number two, and this is even more important, it explains how we defeat them, how we take those institutions back. It gives clear, practical steps, a battle plan, because if we don't take those institutions back, our country is not going to make it.
Wow. In this book, I cannot wait to read it because I have such admiration for you, and your take on this is spot on. tedcruz.org/unwoke. The book just came out this week, and you're going to want to read Unwoke, How to Defeat Cultural Marxism in America. Let's also talk, while we have you and the benefit of your expertise, give me your takeaways over last night's third Republican presidential debate. These are all people you know well. You had Donald Trump down the street in Hialeah, with a competing rally. The dust up between Vivek Ramaswamy and Governor Nikki Haley was pretty profound. Now, you're sort of a red meat guy. You're take no prisoners. You are sharp elbowed. You either loved what Vivek did or you didn't. What was your take on that exchange where at one point she called him scum?
Yeah, look, I thought it was a good debate. I watched it last night. As you know, I do a podcast every week, Verdict with Ted Cruz. We do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I have a special podcast out this morning that the entire podcast is analyzing the debate last night and giving my thoughts in depth. Look, I think for each of the candidates, what they're looking to do is become the principal alternative to Donald Trump. And there were a couple of moments of that happening last night, but I think many of the candidates missed the mark last night. Coming out of the debate, I think the two candidates that really stood apart were DeSantis and Nikki Haley, and it is more and more becoming a two-person race, I think, with the two of them vying to be the chief alternative to Trump. Trump remains the 800-pound gorilla. But I do think the field is narrowing. Obviously, from the second debate to this debate, we went from 7 candidates down to 5. I think there's a very real chance the next debate we'll see it drop to 4 or even 3. Vivek was, look, his opening was fiery. He was blasting the moderators. But, I think the exchange, in particular with Nikki Haley, when he went after Nikki's daughter, that was not a good moment for Vivek. He looked like a jerk. attacking someone's kids is really, it's just out of bounds. And I think it did not help Vivek when he went after Nikki in those personal terms. I think she handled it well. I think the animosity between them, they're not faking it. That is very real. And you know, there's still the process. The field is winnowing. If it gets to be a one-on-one battle between Trump and somebody, that is the only scenario in which I think Trump is even potentially vulnerable. If it's a big crowded field, Trump can't be beaten. If it is a one-on-one battle, then you could have a real contest. And I think these debates have been in the process of winnowing down who it's going to be, and I think there was some progress in that last night.
I've heard you speak to job creation and the need for a robust economy for years. Of course, we've got the president and CEO of Job Creators Network, Alfredo Ortiz, here in our studios with us, as well as Gary Rabine, who's a very successful entrepreneur and businessman and a board member. Alfredo, I know you've admired Senator Cruz for years. I want to give you an opportunity to engage with Senator Cruz while we have him here and talk a little bit about the importance of this economy and job creation in America.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Senator, good morning.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you. You know, unfortunately, we haven't heard much from the candidates regarding small business and the importance of small business as it pertains to the economy. We have 90 million plus hardworking Americans that are really dependent on the success or failure of small business. And they say that inflation, for example, continues to be the number one issue for them. And now access to credit, of course, as the Federal Reserve has had to take interest rates up to fight off Biden inflation. What are your thoughts in terms of how we can continue to promote entrepreneurship in this country and help those 90 plus million hardworking Americans succeed?
Well, listen, I think you are absolutely right that small business is critical. It is central to job creation in the United States. Consistently, about 2/3 of all new jobs in America come from small businesses. And so if you want lots of jobs, if you want opportunity to be plentiful, you want small businesses to grow and prosper and thrive. Now, fortunately, most of us know that jobs don't come from government. They don't come from Washington, D.C. They come from entrepreneurs putting capital at risk to meet a need. But government can screw it up badly, and we're seeing that profoundly under Joe Biden and the Democrats. The two most effective levers, if you want small businesses to have an environment where they're growing and succeeding, are tax reform and regulatory reform. And if you look consistently across our nation's history, every time the federal government cuts taxes, simplifies the tax code, every time the federal government pulls back, repeals job-killing regulations, small businesses grow and prosper, and that creates jobs, raises wages, and it expands opportunity. On the other hand, every time you jack up taxes, you increase the regulatory burden on small businesses. If you hammer small businesses, jobs go away. And sadly, we're seeing under Joe Biden exactly that. We're seeing a regulatory assault on oil and gas and energy, where this administration is waging war on domestic energy production. And we've also seen a wild spending spree, trillions and trillions of dollars that we don't have, that Democrats spent just running the printing presses. And that is driving the inflation that you are absolutely right is hammering small businesses. As I talk to small business owners in Texas, as I talk to farmers and ranchers and young people and seniors and families and everybody, inflation is hammering them. The cost of everything, of your inputs, the cost of energy, the cost of health care, the cost of gasoline, all of it is going up and up and up. And you rightly noted the cost of credit on top of that. You know, you look at the cost of a home mortgage, which has risen dramatically under Joe Biden. And so I do think in November of next year, I think the election is going to come down to the classic question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And on the economy, for almost everyone in the country, the answer is no. Unless you happen to be a big tech billionaire or a Mexican drug cartel, in which case you're doing much, much better under Joe Biden. But for everyone else, the answer is no. And I think that is going to be the most important issue the voters that is motivating the voters next November.
Senator Ted Cruz, we're honored you could spend some time with us today on the Mike Gallagher Show, and I know Alfredo and Gary Rabine also appreciate your time. I hope everybody gets the book. It's out this week, Unwoke, How to Defeat Cultural Marxism in America. You can get it by going to tedcruz.org/unwoke. I like to say to our guests, fight the good fight, and man, we need a fighter like Ted Cruz now more than ever. So please, Senator, keep doing what you're doing. God bless. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. God bless you. And let me say, I hope you enjoy the book. You can also get it on Amazon. And Christmas is coming up. I'll tell you, it makes a fantastic Christmas gift. Get it for your mom, or even better, get it for your kids, because they need to know the nonsense that is being indoctrinated and shoved down on them. And this
Amen.
book, it's a fun read, and I think you'll enjoy it.
You're right on the money. Thanks, Senator Cruz. We'll see you again soon. Ted Cruz here on the Mike
Mike
Gallagher Show from Miami.